So, when you're working in sport and people who watch sport, you probably often hear about teams doing recovery sessions after a game or after a training session or something like that, and it often involves contrast therapy, hot baths, cold baths, usually some active recovery, doing some basic exercises, some bodyweight exercises, for example, maybe a little bit of light cardio so you get a bit of a sweat on. But the point is that what are you trying to recover? And I think sometimes there's a bit of an assumption that you're trying to recover energy systems, which is true. You're trying to remove waste products from the intensity of the exercise to be able to go again and that sort of thing. But I think from a musculoskeletal point of view, one thing that you want to try and do with a recovery session is reset the body physically to baseline. So if anyone's ever worked out before, if you go really intense, you're stiff and you're sore the next day. And I think being able to recover that range of motion and that mobility, for example, on top of the output aspects of energy systems and force production and that sort of thing, is often underlooked from that recovery side of things. And it got me thinking the other day. I was doing a bunch of work on the website and I had been sitting at the computer all day, and I got up to get something to eat and I was stiff and I was sore, and I just thought, man, how do people work in offices all day, every day, and sit there for hours and hours at a time, days on end, weeks on end? No wonder they end up with neck pain and back pain and whatever else. I was there after a couple of hours, let alone days and weeks. And it got me thinking about the idea of, well, why don't we have recovery sessions for office workers or the everyday athlete or whatever you want to call them, rather than trying to push people on, oh, you've got to exercise and you've got to, it's hard work to finish work sometimes and find the motivation to go to the gym and do whatever. But rather than maybe always focusing on, oh, you've got to get better and you've got to lift the bar and all this sort of thing on top of everything you're doing day to day, maybe a better angle is to come at people with training as a recovery session. So if you start the day sitting nice and tall, and by the end you're sitting like this and stiff and sore, well, maybe that's your recovery session, is getting back to baseline mobility to reduce your risk and occurrence of, as I say, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, any of those kind of injuries that come from repetitive overuse and repetitive or sustained postures, and all that sort of thing, your upper cross and lower cross syndromes. Maybe we need to think of programming as a recovery method for those things, as opposed to just performance enhancement, so to speak, because the guys I work with are lucky. They get paid to work out, they get paid to recover, they get paid to stay in shape. For the rest of us, when you got to go to work all day and then try and fit that in on top, it's hard to find that motivation sometimes. Anyway, love to hear people's comments on that. Leave them below, send me a shout out on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. But yeah, just something I've been pondering the last week or so. Thanks.